If you're looking for the vice president for Donald Trump, I think maybe look no further. Vivek Ramaswamy might just be that guy. And the clip I'm going to show you is a perfect example of why. He is going to be asked an extremely difficult question. This is a question that is splitting our country right in half. And the answer he gives is so well done, so perfectly said, and with respect to the individual who sang it, but still Vivek holds to his morals and his values. Now, this video clip is a little bit longer than I usually bring you, but I encourage you watch it all the way through, because as it progresses, Vivek is going to bring up point after point about this very difficult topic to talk about that are very important to understand, because when it comes to this issue, we can't back down. We need to speak the truth. But there's also very particular points that we should focus on, because if we don't and we're scattered all over the place on this issue, we'll never be able to move the country forward in the right direction when it comes to this. And I will share with you those things that Vivek is going to say that I think are super important at the end of the clip. Check it out.
LGBTQ.
What's up?
You heard me.
I actually didn't.
LGBTQ.
Yep, what about it?
Yeah, you just said there was nothing about transgender.
Yeah, so how about this? I give you the mic, and we hear what you have to say. And then I'm going to answer you, and you'll hear what I have to say, what everybody else here has to say. Does that sound like a good deal?
I don't need a mic. Yes. I can speak louder.
Well, stand up, tell me your name, and state your question.
My name's Alexis Case, and I grew up here.
Okay.
In this town. LGBTQ is a serious situation in this world today. There are children that get bullied because they are gay, they are lesbian, they are transgender. I don't need that.
Okay. You're welcome to have it if you want.
I don't need it.
You get to ask your question, but after that, you're going to hear me give my answer. So I'll let you finish.
What is your stance on LGBTQ?
Good. Thank you for your question. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to go into a level of depth that I don't usually go into on a campaign trail, but I'm going to do it because you asked the question, and you deserve an answer. LGBTQIA, there's so many letters, they've just added a plus at the end. That's where we are now. What's going on? So the same movement, because if we're going to call that one thing, let's play it fair. The same movement that said that the sex of the person you're attracted to is hardwired on the day you're born. That was the premise of the gay rights movement, for it to count as a civil right. That movement is now saying that your own biological sex is totally fluid over the course of your life.
Hypocrites.
You can't believe both those things. Well, I think I'm going to get to a deeper say. That's where I was about a year or two ago, but I think there's something deeper going on, and I'll tell you what it is. So the same movement, and by the way, let's think about the women's rights movement in this country, which said there's many ways to be a woman. You can have long hair, short hair, you can wear a skirt, you can wear jeans. Now says that, oh, if actually you want to behave a certain way, that means you're a man. So I think that the hypocrisies go all the way down. And I'll tell you what's going on. You can't believe both of those things at the same time if you're operating according to principles of sheer logic. But you can if you're adopting a faith, a cult-like belief system. So this is controversial for me to say, but I'm going to tell you what I think. I believe that transgenderism specifically is a mental health disorder. I believe it's a mental health condition.
Okay.
Nobody cares what they think.
Well, no. We're going to finish this. This is good. We have to have open conversation in this country. But I don't think the
Not a
compassionate
fucking
thing to do.
mental health disorder.
Well-
It's how they fucking feel.
Well, let me. If I'm going to give you a chance to respond if you'd like, but
No,
we
I
can't have an
just
open
mean-
debate in this country if we're not able to state our views.
That's how they feel.
That's how they feel. And you know what? I'll tell you a story, and you deserve to hear this. I met two young women in this race about 6 months ago. Their names were Chloe and Katie, two young women. They're in their 20s now. Both of them had their breasts cut off. One of them had her uterus removed.
Okay.
They're in their 20s. They regret that decision. One of them wants to have kids. She'll never have kids. The other one will never breastfeed her children. They'll never be the same because they had that done to them when they were teenagers. So no, when a young person shows up and says,
But you
my
said
gender
20.
doesn't match my biological sex, they're asking for help.
But you just said 20. That's not
They happened to them when one girl was 13 when it happened to her. She's in her 20s now and regrets it. This is what's wrong in this country. We will look back at this and say this was barbaric that we allowed this to happen in this country. That is not compassion. That is cruelty. And so I don't think the right thing to do is, I'm not going to villainize those people. You don't villainize people who are going through suffering, but you have to be willing to say when a kid shows up and says, my gender doesn't match my biological sex, you have to be able to say, what else is going wrong at home? What else might be going wrong at school? Get to the bottom of what's going on. Help that person with compassion, with dignity. So my view is this: if you're an adult, you're free to live your life however you want as long as you're not hurting somebody else. If you're a man, you can dress how you want. If you're a woman, you can dress how you want. Identify how you want. We're a free country and I'm not going to stop you. But kids are not the same as adults. And we have to protect our children. And I'm going to go further than that. We can't change the way that women and men compete in sports. We can't do that. We can allow you to live your life the way you want to. But we can't change the way that we operate in our own life. And I'm going to finish this thought and then you get to respond. Because I think this is good. We don't do this enough. Open debate. I love this. I think what we've had in our country before is a tyranny of the majority. And that's what we worry about. But right now we don't have a tyranny of the majority. What we have in this country right now is a tyranny of the minority. That's what we have right now, a tyranny of the fringe minority that tells you to shut up, sit down, and do as you're told. No, we have to stand for what is true. And so I promise you, you will have a chance to respond. I'm going to keep my promise. You tell me. This is good. We don't do this enough in our country anymore. Open conversation. Tell me.
I was a child when I knew that I was gay. Not the fact that I wanted to change my gender, but living here in this town, I knew that I wanted, that I was a lesbian, that I was attracted to females.
And you know what's...
But I had to hide it.
And when did you grow... When was that? In the 90s?
Oh, no. Let's see, I came out when I was 19, so I was born in 1983.
So I think where we are now, we're in the similar generation. I think things today aren't what they were. I grew up in Ohio in the 1990s, and we're in a different place today. And I think this could be a very productive conversation. I don't get to do this in the campaign trail often, where we all are in our own echo chambers and silos. So it's good for us to talk to each other. I like that. Something funny's happened, I think, in the last few years in this country with the civil rights movement. It's right when we get to closest to the promised land of true racial equality that we then start obsessing over systemic racism. It's right when we get to the point in our national history where whoever you are, you can marry who you want, where you want, if you want, whatever gender they are, that we start then obsessing over the sexual identity revolution. You know what's actually funny right now is many people who are lesbian or gay are being taught to say that, hey, if you're a woman attracted to a woman, you're not a woman, you're a man. So that's the transgender movement. The L and the G, first of all, don't have that much to do with each other. The G and the T don't have as much to do with each other. But we're clubbing all of these things up to create more division. I hate the term persons of color. You want to know why? You take 100 different cultures, combine them into one thing that's designed to be opposed to this other thing we call white. And so the way I view this is, you are free to live your life the way you wish to, as long as you don't hurt anybody else in return. And I'm free to do the same thing too. But that doesn't mean we change the way men and women compete in sports. That doesn't mean we change the way men and women... I don't think that just because you identify as a man doesn't mean that you're entitled to a trophy. Do you agree with me on that?
That's different.
You agree with me on that?
I get you. I get you.
You agree with me on that? All
I
right.
get you. That's different.
Because men shouldn't be swimming with women in women's sports competitions. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's
different.
That's what I'm talking about,
100%,
right?
that's
And so that's what I'm saying is it's not all the same thing, right? And so we got to respect people and treat them with dignity. Every one of us is different. But all I'll say is kids aren't the same as adults, and if we can agree on that, then I think we at least made some progress tonight. We'll have a step forward. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so many important things here. I'm just going to go through a few of them with you. The first major point he brings up, and this is huge, is this movement we're seeing was born out of a movement that said when people are very tiny, towards toddler level, that at that moment, the attraction that they have as far as gay and lesbian is concerned, it's within them already. Right? It's there within them. And now all of a sudden, and this gave them civil rights because of this. They said this is within them at that moment. But now the movement has switched to, well, people change over time. So you know how we've in the past have said, well, they were born that way, right? This is no longer the argument that's being made. There is no born that way because you can change. Fluid. You can become different pronouns over time. So it's a hypocritical statement that's being said. We've moved from one thing to another. It's not even like the goalposts have been changed. We're in an entirely different sport here. And that's important to understand because it actually makes the entire thing collapse in and of itself. But I think the biggest point that Vivek brings up, and this is huge, okay, because ultimately, as adults, you should be able to do whatever it is that you want to do as long as you're not harming anybody, okay? This is even a biblical principle because God will say, and I'm a Christian, God will say, if you want to live this way, go live that way. There are consequences for it, right? It's not the way I designed it. It's not the way I purposed you and purposed it. But if that's what you're going to do, no problem. That's how you're going to live. You make your choice. God's not going to force anyone to do anything. And so this is a biblical principle that's true. But kids are different, okay? Kids are different. And right now, our society, the evil in our society is attacking and targeting our kids at such young ages, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, in schools where they're supposed to be protected. We have men who are dressing up in fishnets and reading books to them and dancing in front of them in provocative ways. We have them being taught that they aren't who they think they are and that their gender changes over time. They're being confused about what's real and not real. They are being sexualized at earlier and earlier ages. They're being told that they can explore these things at 5 and 6 and 7 years old. We're not protecting their minds. And then at 9 and 10 years old, they're wanting, because they're hearing this, they're wanting these changes. They're wanting drugs to be introduced into their bodies. And we're doing this. We're putting these puberty blockers into them. And even some of them are looking for changes, literal parts of their bodies to be removed and taken out. And we're allowing this to happen. We're not protecting our children. There needs to be legislative action to protect children in this world from this garbage and this nonsense. Their minds need to be protected. Their bodies need to be protected. If they become adults and they could do whatever they want. They could pierce their entire face, tattoo everything they want. They could chop things off, whatever, as long as they find a medical professional who's willing to do that. But while they're children, unacceptable. Unacceptable what we're doing to our children nowadays. And this is the biggest point that Vivek brings up. And this is a vice presidential candidate right here for sure, because it's a difficult topic to talk about because people are so divided on it. And he is willing to hold up to his morals and his convictions on it. But he's also willing to be respectful to the individual who's asking it. I think one of the toughest things he said, and I agree with him here, is that this is a mental health issue. I think it's a mental health issue caused by a lot. I think it's caused by society. I think it's caused by the degradation of our society. I also think it's caused by a lot of the things that are being poured into our water and our food. Chemicals, antibiotics, testosterone, estrogen, all kinds of garbage is in our foods, processed that we've never been eating before. And this is messing up all kinds of stuff in the human body, for sure. But then you're also looking at the moral degradation of our society. And the Bible's clear there. The Lord's going to give us up to those things that our society is saying they're going to move forward to. Fine, we're going to, and we're seeing this happen. But it doesn't negate the fact that this is not natural It's not biological. It's not biblical. There's something wrong. And it's in my opinion, a mental health issue that's caused by a variety of different things that are happening in our modern day society. And this is such a hard thing to say, especially for politicians, because politicians are trying to figure out how to get themselves through that fine line. But Vivek is willing to say it in a respectful way. If you made it this far into the video, thank you for being a part of this channel. I really appreciate it. Those of you that stick with this and listen through the entire thing and stick with me sharing my opinion in the whole video and stuff, you make this entire thing worthwhile. You help this channel grow and spread around. And I just wanted to give you a thank you for that. Have a Merry Christmas. You know, Merry Christmas to you. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the entire season, and just spend time with them. Spend time with the Lord. You know, this is an opportunity for us to just calm down, just quiet ourselves, and just draw in. You know, be prayerful, be thankful, but just enjoy it. Thank you all. I'll catch you on the next video.